Hello again. It is so good to see you. And I hope that you can see me more clearly. That might not be a good thing, but hopefully it's okay. It's doable. So I am so glad to see you. I'm sure the whole entire East Coast gives a sigh of relief. Boy, what a few days we've had. So let me type in hello first, and I'll be right back. Okay. Okay. So I'm really glad to see you. I'm trying to decide if this camera is a little too high. Might be okay. Let me see. All right. So I'm very glad to see you. And I hope you've had a chance to look at my Stories of the Stitch. I judged their quilt competition last week. It was the second year I've done it. Quite an honor. And I don't consider myself a professional quilt judge by any chance, but I've been around the quilt world a long time and have taken an informational class, but just love quilting. It is my heartbeat. So I am glad that you're here. And let me see what I've got to show you this week. I'm going to pull some things out of the package. And, you know, people might not be here yet because I moved the time up. I think they were expecting it at 5. And I put the change out. But you know what? Not everybody checks there. So we'll see. If Bonnie's not here, I'm concerned I didn't get the message out good enough. So let's see. I'm hoping she's here. But if you have something special that you would like me to cover today, I'll be glad to. Today is an unusual day for me. The outer bands of the tropical depression are carrying on right now. And it's one of the reasons I did want to move it up, because our power has flickered here and there. So if we lose power, in fact, let me type this. If we lose power, please understand, I was doing the best I could, but I can't control Mother Nature, at least not yet. All right, so if I'm not here, it's because we lost power. Dealing with the remnants of Hurricane. What was her name? It started with an R. Oh, Hurricane R. Oops. Okay. Hold on just a second. Okay. So we were very lucky. This week I was supposed to go camping. I had the motorhome all packed, sewing projects in there, sewing machine, iron, all my good little stuff. And I had my Yazzie packed, you know, love that thing. And I try to be hip and happening. So I know the new, in fact, I have a Tudo. But anyway, I had the camper all packed. And then we're watching this hurricane come across the Atlantic. And I'm very happy that it didn't become a Category 5. But understand something. When people tell you to evacuate or prepare, please do it. It's not worth the 9 lives that we've lost now. Oh, that breaks my heart. Hold on, I've got somebody typing. Ah, Patty from Maine. Hi, gal. Hello, Patty from Maine. Yes, we're very safe. I didn't get to go to the lake. I didn't get to hang out in my hammock. I didn't get to put on my tube and just float around the lake. But thank goodness it didn't hit us as hard as it was supposed to. I saw film this morning, and Fayetteville is flooded. Reminded me of Houston last year. I think that's why a lot more people listened when they put in the evacuation order, and thank goodness they did. You know, we've lost 9. One of them was a mother and her 8-month-old baby, and that breaks my heart. I know, and you know, one thing we have to remember, not everyone has the money to evacuate, or they're afraid of, you know, where to go. It's a scary thing. It's so easy to sit back in your comfortable home and say, you know, why don't they just evacuate? You know what? It's really scary. And I don't know if any of you saw the images of elderly people being taken out of their flooded homes. And I worried they don't have any medicine, any bags. I mean, they would just had to be rescued out of the flood. Oh, and this is one of the comments that got me. One of the women that this channel I was watching, one of the women they talked to she was in Wilmington, said that when she went to get out of bed, she went to put her feet over the edge of the bed and put them in water. Now, that would get my attention. It really would. But anyway, so this week I was on vacation. And I tried telling Mark, taking a vacation at your house would be like for him taking a vacation at the office. It's just not the same. But I ended up having a pretty good time. Now, Patty, since you're here, you're going to be my guinea pig. Is this video clear or clearer? Because I just changed internet companies this week so that I could get a better upload rate and better and to get a clearer image when we do live stream. Because I don't know, Patty, if you joined any of our other live streams, but they were very blurry and very stuttered. So it's nice. I uploaded, I don't know, Patty, if you saw my stitches stories of, oh, good, it is clear, yay. And it's only costing me $7 more a month. Thank you, Spectrum Cable, the division of Time Warner Cable. We had a very old company before, and it really, I don't think it was cost effective for them to do all the upgrade because that's expensive and a lot of work. And so I finally told Mark, I can't stand this slow internet anymore. To upload a 30-minute video, it was taking me 24 to 36 hours. So the other day when I went to upload my stories of the Stitch video, I timed it. It only took 5 minutes. Now, it was a 10-minute video, so it was much shorter, but I didn't even have time to write the intro for it before it was uploaded. So I'm very happy. And knowing that this is clear, I'm so excited. This is wonderful. So you're the first one. Oh, you were here before. Good, 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 good. Yes, my old upload speed, which is what I used to put my video on YouTube and to do this because I'm uploading from me to YouTube. My old upload speed ran from 0.5 to 1.6. Big whoopee. And now it's over 20. I'm so excited. So I was really tickled to get a good deal, and for only $7 more, I bumped up to the Ultra instead of even the regular because y'all are worth it. Y'all are worth it. So Patty, what have you been working on? What is your bliss this week? And with that beautiful name, Patty, which I assume stands for Patricia, you were probably somewhere around my generation, because Debbie's and Susan's and Linda's and Patty's, those were very popular names. Anne is here! Anne made it! Yay, Anne! Fantastic, girl. I'm glad you knew. And if you get a chance, can you post on our Yahoo group that this has started? Because I'm worried. Bonnie's not here, and I have a feeling she didn't see the notices that I was doing it earlier. But if you have a chance, I'm afraid if I try it from this laptop that y'all are going to lose the feed. So, but Ann, I'm so glad you're here. Stick around, gal. We want to find out what you're doing. And let's find out, what is Patty in Maine doing? I'd love to know. I'll tell you what I'm working on today. A couple things. Do you see the quilt hanging up there? That is called the Binding Tool Star. And you can find... Oh, good. No, don't leave. Don't lose the way, Ann. Stay right where you are, darling. Okay, and Patty says she's been working on Free Spirit by Laundry Basket Quilts. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Is it like some kind of bird, or... That sounds interesting. I'd love to see that. Oh, a swap. Ooh, are you happy with what you're getting on the swap? You know, swaps and rounds and row robins and all that, they're fun, but you get scared. What if, or what if I don't get the best? But honestly, I have a quilt hanging up in my frame room. If you go look at my frame room tour, you'll see it behind the elliptical trainer that I don't use, but I intend to. But you'll see that, and it came out beautifully. A lot of small half square triangles and large half square triangles. Do you have that program? And that was one of the things. This is perfect. It would almost be like I asked you to ask this. But one of the things I was going to talk about is programs that you can use to print out papers to make half square and quarter square triangles. And I love them because you just key in what size do you want your finished half square triangle to be, and it will bring that up, and then you hit print, and you can make 8 at a time. And boy, it doesn't get easier than that. So let's see. Oh, good. Did you buy the binding tool then? In fact, I have mine right here. And what's nice about it, how many rulers do you buy that you can also actually use to do the binding on any quilt? And they're like $9. I mean, come on, we could do that. But isn't that great? And you can use it to make other shapes. I didn't mean to throw it. But in fact, that's what I'm working on right there. That is my third binding tool quilt. And if any of you, that's the one, okay. If any of you want the pattern for that binding tool quilt, go to Missouri Quilts. And that's where I first saw it. It was one of Jenny's, videos. And then they I wrote and said, hey, can you make a pattern? And they didn't have a pattern, and now they have one. But this is one that she said at the time, her nephew started playing with it and laid out this. Well, that's the one I wanted. So what I'm working on right now are piano key borders. I'm going to do a piano key border, and I've got every color that's in the quilt to do piano key borders. So, and you know me, where are the ones I had sewn? Oh, I moved it somewhere. But I chain piece. And, oh, you know what? I don't have my chain piece cutter because I packed it for camp. Mark asked me if I needed any of that stuff, and I went, no, I'm fine. Well, I did. So, don't you love Missouri Quilt Company? I mean, oh my God, that Jenny Doak? No, it's Carol Doak, Jenny Doan. She's wonderful, wonderful. Oh, good swap through Miss Marker's quilts. Oh, that's so neat. You know what? The binding tool quilt I used, I don't remember. I don't remember the name. The colors were called beach sand or beach glass, and then the darker version. I might have found it on Craftsy. I think that's the only place I've gotten my jelly rolls from because the prices are so good. But it was supposed to be like beachy colors, but I started to just use the beach glass. I think that was what it was called, beach glass or something. But then it turned out so pale that I thought, ooh, if I want some pop, I better get a jelly roll with the darker colors. And I'm very glad I did. And then the center blocks, oh, here they are. Here, I do my assembly line sewing, and these were the leftovers and some extra pieces, and I decided it needed yellow to give it some pop. So I unfortunately didn't have the same. I guess it's a batik, yeah. And it was just, the colors were just so pretty. But then what I was going to tell you is instead of using white for the centers, the cool thing about using white for the centers is see what now is a triangle in between the middle star and the outer row? Well, if I'd used white for the centers, it would have made like an arrow shape. And that's kind of cool. But I wanted to give it something different. And so I used this gorgeous dark batik. And so it gives the centers some pop. So the Haskell trials are, yes. Oh, I know. Aren't they wonderful? And especially when you can print out the side you need. So I love it. I have, I'm trying to think of the program. It came from a company that did the block of the day, Quilt Pro. It puts out Quilt Pro system. And I just got a notice the other day, $10 they had it on sale. Normally it's $19. And you get the program to print out the half square triangles. And then I got the one for quarter square triangles too. Because I had them on my old computer, but I haven't figured out how to move some of those programs. And it was so inexpensive at 10. I said, yep, I'll do that. And now I have a nice fresh program, a new number, and I can download them, when I want. Because I'm not sure some of those programs, I'm not sure how many times you get to download them. So you'll have to check for that yourself. But anyway, oops. Y'all, I'm going to ask you to hold on just a second. I got a new bird, and I'm not sure where the bird is, so I better go find it. I just looked, and it's not on its stand, so I'll be right back, okay? All right. Bird. Bird. No, it's not Inklingo. It's not Inklingo. I'm trying to think. Let me see. Let me see if I can peek at it real quick. Hold on. All right. Quilt. It is Quilt Pro. Okay, it's Quilt Pro, guys. And I just did something. Okay, could y'all still see me when I went to check my email, or did it follow to the email? Yeah, it's Quilt Pro, and that's very reasonable. I've heard of Inklingo, I just haven't seen it. You still saw me. Okay, good. So, you know what this tells me? That if you, now, I was thinking, I don't know how to do this. I guess I could turn the camera around to my computer and show it. But if you want to send me a picture of anything you're working on, I'll be glad to show it on camera. So that'll be cool. All right. So I've been working on the binding tool star, and it's very, very easy. You just cut this shape, and especially if you use a jelly roll, because this is 2.5 inches, and you just cut pieces out of this shape, and very, very simple. So look for the pattern on Missouri Star Quilt Company site, and it's very worth it. I think, and you know what, when I taught my class, it was my most popular class. I had 20 students, so very popular. But the one, in fact, on some parts of my site, you'll see a binding tool star that I made for my daughter. It's the prettiest one. And I've tried to steal it, but she keeps the door locked now. So, you know, it's like you don't want to be an Indian giver. And it's funny because I've done trunk shows where I say, Becky, she goes along and helps me when I do a trunk show. And I said, can you bring that binding tool star off the your living room wall? And my grandson is, where's the quilt, Mom? He does not like that quilt gone. He loves that quilt. So I think that's sweet. So, and that's very easy to do, and it leaves lots of open spaces for gorgeous quilting, if you can quilt gorgeously, which I work on. Oh, speaking of quilting gorgeously, I judged the contest in Galax, Virginia, and it was at the Matthews Living History Farm, and it was so hot. Oh, God, ladies. I was out in the sun walking quilt to quilt, no shade. Big mistake. I didn't have sunscreen on because the hurricane was coming. I thought it would be cloudy. Oh, no. And, you know, in the mountains, you're up a little closer to the sun. And Mark and I tried to drink water, but we probably didn't drink enough. The sweat was pouring in my eyes. So it was burning my eyes when I'm trying to write judges' notes and judge these quilts. And there was one point in time I got a little shaky on my feet, and I had to go sit down in the shade. But towards the end, I'm kind of standing behind the quilts and holding them so they can give me shade while I write my notes. But I came home from that, and I was sick for 2 days. So be careful with heat exhaustion. It's much harder on you when you are of an age, and I am. So, but anyway. So it was really hot and sweaty, but it was worth it. It was so worth going. They had some gorgeous quilts, and if you look at my video, you'll see them. And I met this quilter. Oh, I told her, hon, you've got to get a YouTube channel. She reminds me of Angela Walters. She's of that age, in the 30s, I would assume, although I think Angela's getting towards the end of the 30s, and this one might be younger. But her name is Ashley Reeves, and she's from Fancy Gap, Virginia. And if anybody knows from this area knows, Fancy Gap is where the cute little pottery is and where you can get fabric real cheap and all kinds of crafts really cheap. And but she lives up near there. And if you want to quilted, this girl is talented. She's every bit as good as Angela Walters. I mean, I was shocked. And her husband said, yeah, I just bought her that mid-arm for Christmas. And I'm thinking, you have gotten that good in 9 months? Whoa. I mean, I've been quilting for years. It took me every year of those years to feel like, I halfway knew what I was doing. So her quilts were amazing. The quilting was immaculate. There was one quilt she called Nova, and you'll see it in the video. It was so many pieces because it was like a huge fractured kaleidoscope. And some of the pieces, were just small triangles. She hand pieced it. And, when you're trying to judge, you're thinking, how in the world did she line every seam up perfectly? She did it by hand. And then she did the quilting by machine. Well, the combination was unbeatable. And I looked to find something not to give her perfect scores. And if there was something, I didn't see it. But I was so impressed. So she got they don't really give best in show, but I like giving best in show. And she got best in show. She also got #2 quilt. And they were all in different categories. So there were a lot of winners. But the thing is, I happened to look up. I typed her name to just kind of look up and see something about her. And there was an Allegheny quilt show. Both of those quilts got first place in their categories. So I said, you go, girl. I knew quality when I saw it, and I was real tickled. So, and it's hard. It's hard to judge. You kind of feel bad, I'm the kind of person that'd love to give everybody a ribbon and say, just because you cared to make it, you deserve something. But that's not what it's about. And it does encourage quilters. So now I will never enter. I don't think I'll enter. I'm not going to say never, but I don't see me entering my quilts because these are my babies and I don't like them judged. And I can't win. I'm too impatient. I have a 3-time rule. If it doesn't line up in 3 times, that's it. We go on. We move on. And I do that a lot. But I like the big picture and the excitement. But the whole detail thing is kind of much. Anyway, but it's important, and I comment on everyone's. And there's, of course, something wonderful about everyone, and I'm very careful in the way I give suggestions that they may want to try. And I understand it's subjective. And so you worry that somebody might get their feelings hurt. Well, why didn't my quilt get this? Well, 50 to 60% of a quilt judging is impact. Does that quilt catch your eye and draw you in? Does that quilt get you excited about quilts and about quilting? And you can't always have that. I have maybe 2 or 3 quilts that are that way. Well, maybe 4, but I've made a lot. I've been doing this a while. But out of all the quilts I've made, maybe only 4 really you say, wow, that's a cool quilt. So that it's subjective, and then you judge impact, and that could be the colors you use, the fabrics you use, the way you place them. Like there was one really exciting quilt at the show, but it was so busy, and it had gorgeous fabrics from Thailand. So they were and I love intense colors. I love rich, deep colors, just saturated. That's the word I was looking for, saturated colors. But the problem I had with this quilt, even though she did a gorgeous job with it, there wasn't a place for your eye to rest. And as much as I love those fabrics, I felt myself a little overwhelmed by all of that going on. And that's unfortunate. It doesn't mean it's a bad quilt. It's a lovely quilt. But when you judge it against other quilts, it will bring it down a little bit. And if Ashley's watching this, I would like to see her quilts show a little more variation of intensity. And so going through she's one of these young modern quilters, and they love lots of color. But just don't forget, it takes every shade and every tint, light, dark, all of the steps in between, to give a quilt that is well balanced. And don't forget, I made a quilt once, and the designer, the teacher said, there's not a place for your eye to rest. And she was exactly right. I put all prints in it. And that's where a solid can give you that your eye, that chance to slow down and enjoy the quilt. And also look for ways to draw the eye. Like whatever point the eye enters that quilt, think about your colors and your values, because you want that eye to see the whole quilt. Whichever way you can draw the person, the viewer, in to enjoy all of your work, because you worked hard for it, let me tell you. So let me see what people are saying. If I do, in fact, on the Stories of the Stitch, there is my favorite landscape quilt of all, and it's a rooster quilt, and it has actual feathers from a rooster I used to have. I say I used to have. He's gone to the great big soup pot in the sky, because he started attacking us. And when he chased Mark halfway around the house, I said, time to go. So I know of a lovely lady who will take these chickens and who will dress them and put them. And she said she had to cook him. He was a tough one, I tell you. And he was gorgeous. He was, 2 feet tall, biggest rooster I've ever seen. So, but thank you, Ann. I will try. At some point, I think I'll try. But that rooster that you'll see on the Stories of the Stitch video, I didn't show you the actual quilt. It was the picture from the handout. But I entered that in my county fair. Nothing. And I thought, that's why I don't like to enter contests. And I wish that, I know the judge probably had so many quilts to look at, but I wish I could have known what bothered her about it. Did I have it in the wrong category? I put it in the applique category because there wasn't a landscape category. But anyway, so that's another thing. Be careful if you enter a show, be careful to choose your category wisely. So, but anyway, I had the best time with this. I mean, I was amazed. I said, with 2/3 easily of the quilts in that contest would have beaten something I've recently done. And I thought, these ladies, they had it going. So it was a wonderful quilt show. So if you live in the North Carolina, Virginia area, in the first full weekend, usually around the 9th to the 12th or the 8th to the 12th, and it's free admission, and it's just a lovely day. You go to visit this farm from 1900, and they have live music. They have vendors. We all love vendors. And they have a caterer on board, so you can purchase your food. And it's beautiful in the rolling hillsides up in Galax, Virginia. So it's a lovely ride. Mark and I enjoyed it. And that's another thing. He was my assistant, and he was wonderful because there was just too much to do, logging what quilt, what number, what category, then giving it the points. It was based on points. Then I tried to write a personal note for every quilter because, hey, if you're going to go through that work and then put yourself on the line to enter the quilt show, I feel like you deserve some kudos and some suggestions if needed. So there was a quilt that I judged third that was gorgeous. And remember this, ladies, and gentlemen, if there is one. And if there is, come on, speak up. I'd love to know. I'd love to get guys on here. And so her background was a fairy frost, a almost white fairy frost. That was so striking. So you want to talk about first impression. From a distance, you see that there's deep, rich colors, fall colors, and fall and winter colors. And it's very striking. Then you get up, within 8 feet, 6 feet of it, and then you see the fairy frost. Oh my gosh. I mean, wow, it got me. And so the only reason they were third instead of first or second, just little things, threads that weren't cut, that were still hanging on it, or the seams didn't quite match up. But I mean, this maker was right there. So just a couple little attentions. And, it's not that I'm picky. I'm not picky at all. I can't even be picky about my own quilts. But when you have to judge, it's like that's kind of what you do. Okay, I love this. I love these. Now, how do I choose one over the other? And, it'll break your heart. But I had a good time, a very good time. And, here I'm talking about, it'd be nice if everybody got a note from the quilt judge. We didn't have all that many quilts to judge, maybe 30, and it took me a couple of hours, and I was exhausted afterwards. So I don't know how these judges do these quilt shows where there's thousands, Ooh, that would be too much for me. It's not something I really feel like doing. So don't you love fall colors, Patty? I used to be crazy about fall colors. And even though blue is my favorite color, but I'm so looking forward to fall. I don't know about you guys. Is anybody else looking forward to fall? I am done with summer. Today, this whole week, it has been so humid. I mean, you sit still and you mold. So it's awful. It is terrible. We've got our dehumidifier going. We've got the air conditioning turned down to 71 because the temperatures aren't that hot because of the storm and the cloud cover, but the humidity is horrible, horrible. So anyway, so now I was talking to Patty about what she's working on, and then Anne, have you started on your binding tool star yet? And anybody else, I see there's 5 people. If anybody else would like to tell me what they're working on. And I want to ask you a question. Would you mind if I sew a little bit while we're talking? Would that be okay? I'm doing the Quilting Place Norcross Halloween Mystery. And they just released the last one, and I'm getting ready and putting these together. And I thought they were going to be candy corns. They're not going to be candy corns. They're going to be spider webs. So isn't that cool? So I thought I might sew a little bit, but let me hold on just a second, guys. Let me see if I can bring this down. And I hope that you new people that are here get a chance to see that, yes, I did upgrade to, in fact, let me show you real quick. It's going to be a little bumpy. I'll try to be smooth. These are all my colors for, let me see where I'm showing you. These are all my colors for the binding tool star. So I'm hoping I showed that right. I couldn't see where I was showing you. Anyway, all right. So now I'll point my camera down here. Let me see. You're in, oh, wow, 40. Oh, I love balloon festivals. Oh, Anne, that's wonderful. We have one in September in Statesville, North Carolina, and I went to that a couple years in a row, and that had like 10 balloons, and I was tickled for 10. It must have been gorgeous having 40. Oh, I love that. So you brought 3 projects. Are they hand projects or machine projects? And I'll show you. I mean, if a balloon festival doesn't it doesn't get you excited about quilting and art, your art and all that, I don't know what would. I want to show you these. These were made in strip sets, and then they had a template on paper, but I found one of my triangle rulers that worked perfectly. And let me show you this dark one, you'll see it better. So I made the strip sets in, dark and light strip sets, and made them in 3 different kinds. Now I wanted to use up the fabrics, but afterwards I thought, oh, maybe they should have been like the designer called for, because they were very dramatic. But what I wanted to show you is I hate when I bring all these together, there are going to be 8 wedges to make the circle. And those seams become a real pain. So what I did, can you see the seams? Where it runs to the edge at an angle, I trimmed down to just above the stitching, only right where the seams are going to join. And I did it for all of them. And I had, how many of these did I have? 12 times 8. I had quite a few of these to do. What's 12 times 8? It's close to around 100. But Prairie Dawn by RJR, appliqué by machine. Oh, neat. In fact, I think I used some of that fabric for a quilt. So anyway, I like to trim them because then that way I don't have that bulk. So now you can see how they're all trimmed. And I had it upstairs. I was watching a Netflix show, and I thought I can do this. So I am going to pin these because you do want your seams to line up perfectly. And do y'all know how to do perfect seams? Let me come in a little bit. I saw this on Alex Anderson's old quilt show, sewing, what was her old quilt show called? I've forgotten now. But anyway, would it work for pinwheels? I do. Anytime that I have a lot of seams coming together, I trim them like that. It's just so I can't stand it when I'm quilting and it bumps, it catches, or you're trying to sew them together and it's just so much fabric. That's just too much. Windscape by AGF, just cutting it out as wow. Wow, I can't wait. And I want to see pictures of this. Also, Patty, Anne belongs to the Our Time to Quilt Yahoo group, and it's wonderful because everybody can post all the pictures they want. I love it. The more the merrier. And because you know what you work on, it inspires all of us. And I don't care if it's painting, I don't care if it's cross stitch, I don't care if it's knitting even, those knitters. I'm just teasing. My girls are both knitters. I don't have a quilter in the bunch. Okay, what I do, this is the foolproof way of making sure your seams match when you're sewing. So remember this. And I didn't invent this. I saw it on, what was the name of Alex Anderson's HGTV show? Oh, well, it was years ago. But, okay, so you take the pin, you put it right through the stitching. Let's see if you can see. See how it's right through the seam line. And you have it come out this side, right through. See, it's right there on the stitching. And you try to put it approximately 1/4 of an inch in. All right, and you leave it sticking up halfway. Part out, part in. Can you see that? Then the next step is you get another pin and try to use your fine pins. You don't want something bulky that's going to pierce things. And what you do, while making sure that this is perpendicular to the fabric, see how it's perpendicular to the fabric. Don't have it leaning like this or leaning like that. See how just by moving the fabric, it changes the direction of the pin? So having it perpendicular, take and pin this side. Okay? Then get another pin, and we're going to pin on the other side. So we've got the first pin right there. Now, and stay close to that seam line because, you know, fabric is a moving, stretching thing. So now I have 2 pins right there. Get them reasonably close to the edge. What I often do, and let me show you that, because, you know, pins can pivot. What I often do was take and pin, bring it back up, and pin again, all making sure that this is perpendicular. Once you pin, if this is leaning one way or the other, or backwards or forwards, take them out and do it again. So I'll recap this. Go through the stitching line about 1/4 inch, come out at the stitching line, see the pin, right through the stitches. See how I really nailed that one. And keeping it perpendicular. Now, you can't push it all the way through because then you can't tell if it's perpendicular. You put your 2 little pins in. Now, then let me sew this and back up other way. Let me sew it. Oh, and once you get ready to sew, the one that was sticking perpendicular, pull it out. Only pull it out after these 2 pins are in place. So now I will take well, no, that makes it worse, I think. Glares. And I just carefully either pull out the pins when you get to them or be very slow and careful to sew over them. I also watched Alex Anderson tell about how she hit a pin and it totally broke the main shaft of her sewing machine. So I'm very, very careful. So now look at this. What do you think? That is as perfect as you can get it. This way. And so then what I do is I try pushing the seam the other way, and then it can be just what it needs, just by the direction you turn the seam and then press. So, and don't worry about that black line. That's just a part of the fabric. But it is an excellent seam. Look at that, the white and the yellow right there. So, now you know how to do, oops, back out. Now you know how to make a perfect seam. So, all right. I hate not being able to see you guys. Hi. Let me figure this out. I want you to be able to see me sewing, but I want you, I feel like I'm rude if I'm not looking at you. I wonder if I put the camera over here. You like the close-ups? Oh, thank you. Yes, that's the way to do it. Christmas Storm at Sea. Ooh. You did that too. Yes. I'd love to see the Christmas. I've seen storms at sea. In fact, I made one, but I've never seen a Christmas storm at sea. If I move the camera over here, hold on, ladies. Don't want to make you seasick here. But let's see. This might be better. Bonnie Hunter has her set up much better. But anyway, okay. But anyway, yeah, I took a class at Myrtle Beach. There's a quilt party that goes on there every year. And I took a class, and it's Storm at Sea. And it said, pick out 3 fabrics, a dark, medium, and light. Well, me being who I am, I wanted to do it differently. I picked out 27 fabrics. Yes, I did. It's still in plastic bags. It is not fully assembled yet. So be careful. You know, finished is better than perfect, or finished is better than overreaching. Let me see if I can bring, ooh, careful. Let me see. I thought if I brought the lamp around, you might be able to see a little better. So, I'm glad you like the close-ups. That's one of the things I want to work on, is letting you see things more clearly. And you know, and I don't know if you were here, Ann, but I got my new internet service, so it's more clear. And I hate pinning because it slows me down. This is why I don't enter my quilts in contests, you see. But I hate pinning. But this is a case where pinning takes only a fraction of the time it would take to rip the seam out. And if there's anything I hate more than pinning, it's frog stitching. Do you know in knitting they call it frog stitching too? All right, so let me see. Let's see how I did the rest of these. I didn't use the fancy sewing method, but let's see. I mean pinning method, but let's see how this does. Okay. I need to have, I thought about before I was supposed to go on vacation, having this machine serviced. And let me see if I can press it. They're pretty good. They're not, one of them is not quite perfect, but they're pretty darn good. But let me press it. But I thought, and this is a good hint. If you go on vacation, put your sewing machine in the shop and get it serviced. Get it, whether you're just going to get it cleaned and retimed, because that way, you know, unless you're taking it with you, and I have a smaller machine I take with me, but I've noticed this one's a little louder lately, and I keep it clean, but it's a little louder, so it might be slightly out of time, and sometimes my tension's a little off, but mainly I have to push the thread cutter several times to get it to really cut the thread. All right, so now my iron is warmed up, and there we go. So they're pretty good. Let me see which. Yeah, that purple one is just a little off, but that's pretty good. That's good enough. Or as Alex Anderson, let's finish this with her euphemism, is back from the back of a galloping horse. It's good. See? So, well, this is disconcerting me, so I think I'm going to put the camera back over here. But anyway, this is what I'm working on. And let me show you what blocks I've already made. And then I can show you how this finishes out. And you know what? I'm glad I hadn't made the final decisions on a lot of things, because now that I've seen how it's going to finish up looking, I want to change it. You just don't know. I mean, if I had used the exact fabrics that she did, oh, well, maybe I did do something. Oh, maybe I did do it right. I think I did. Okay. It's always exciting when I think I've done something right. So, where are my bat blocks? Okay. And here are the scraps from making, here's my little scraps from making my strip sets. And I save them. If nothing else, you can use it as a leader or ender when you're quilting, because I hate when your fabric gets drawn down into the machine. So, ready for these cute little blocks? You might have already seen them. Sorry about that if you have. And these are the bats. So, I've got the bats, and then I'm going to have these spider webs. And you see, this is how the spider webs are going to look. There's two different colors, a light and a dark. And that was my bat. My bats. And this is going to be my very first Halloween quilt. I've done pumpkin ones, but never, because, you know, when I was so much busier raising kids, I thought a pumpkin I can use from September through Thanksgiving. But Halloween I can only use for a few weeks. But I have plenty of fabric, so that's, you see, and see how I love that. See that way they spin the center? That is so smart. And you know what? I always forget which way to spin. I mean, how to do that. And I've seen so many different people. Bonnie Hunter's shown before. And okay, and in here it just shows that when you had your strip set, how you can use the triangle template and cut it. And they were nice enough to include a paper template that you could use template plastic and cut. And you know, too, I do have purchased template plastic, but I save plastic from packages. At Christmas time, boy, I'm always saying, do you need that plastic? But so here they are. And I kind of made mine different colors, so I think it's not going to be quite as striking. Now, where is the finished one? Darn it. Maybe I didn't bring it down. Okay. Evidently I didn't bring it down. I'm sorry. What it's going to be is it's going to be the spider webs. They're going to be like in diagonals. And it's going to go between the spider webs and then the bat blocks. And then, so they're kind of interspersed. And I wish I had brought it down. It is the cutest thing. But if you belong to, it's all free. And if you belong to the quilting place or join for free, and I'm trying to remember, one of our quilters, Becca, knows this lady, but Catherine, I've forgotten her name, who designed it, but it's a Halloween block of the week, and very, very simple, didn't use too much fabric or anything. But what I was going to say is I chose this fabric for my background, but once I saw it put together, I thought, oh no, I want to use my candy corn fabric. Well, I already did that. Yay! So I guess I knew that the background fabric just wasn't exciting enough. So this is going to set off the blocks. So, and the way they all fit, then these triangles go in the space in between the squares set on point. So it's a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it. So as soon as I finish it, I will make a video and show you how it came out. But I highly recommend it. It's as cute as can be. So, there is that. Last week, right before I was supposed to go camping, I gathered up my Jenny Beyer borders, because you know I'm doing the Kyoto block of the month. And we're halfway through, I think, or just over halfway now with this step. And so what I'm supposed to do with this is use the template and cut out the pieces. And this has been really helpful. It's an 8th or 16th inch hole punch. And that way when you punch the holes in the templates, you can mark exactly where sewing line should start and stop. And I've got these all pressed and starched, but I haven't cut them. And I'll be laying my template on this. I'm not sure where I don't know where I put the template. But what you do is I take a marker, something that I know I can get off, like a Crayola marker, not a permanent one. Although if you used a permanent one, you could then use alcohol to get it off. Here it is. Here it is. One of these Crayola markers that, you know, and they don't even have to say washable, but they are. They're not permanent unless they say they're permanent. But I take the template and I draw part of the pattern. I draw part of that on the template, so when I place it exact every time. So that's that's a hint there. So I'm hoping that I'm going to mark and cut out those pieces before I leave here today. So I've got a lot going on. So that's the Binding Tool Star, this Halloween, and the Jenny Beyer. And I need to design a landscape quilt for y'all. And I'm also going to teach it at my local shop. So I need to get that going. And I'm designing a quilt, a wall hanging for Christmas. And what I want it to do, the woman at the shop where I teach sewing with yours, she was telling me, why don't you stick to what you do best? And you kind of do different things like landscaping or 3D. And so I'm thinking of doing a pot of poinsettia blossoms and have a lot of them 3D. And then use maybe beading or something or yarn to do the center little things. So I've got to plan that, design it, and draw up some patterns. Because if I'm going to teach it, I've got to be ready to give people patterns. So let me see. Oh, Bonnie's here. Yay, Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie. So, yeah, now you see my wrinkle. Let me see. Oh. So, well, hi, Bonnie. It wasn't the same without you, darling. Heavens, Deb, I have to take my sewing machine with me and try to catch up with all my UFOs. And seed beads. Exactly. I was thinking fuzzy yarn, like yellow, and then yellow beads, and that would be fun. And what I do when I do a 3D petal, because have I shown you, let me move, I'm going to move the camera again. Watch out, ladies. Let me see if you can see my sunflower quilt up on the wall. Do you see the sunflower? It has all dimensional petals, dimensional leaves. And so what I do is I iron fusible interfacing. Could you see that, I hope? I iron fusible interfacing on the back of one of the fabrics. And then or both of the fabrics. And then I take and I stitch them right sides together and turn them inside out and press them. And then you can always, if you wanted it to have some dimension, you could put a little thin layer of batting in. And so that's good. But what else was I thinking? But anyway, I was thinking that it might be neat to have, some of the poinsettia being 3D. And that would be something different. Well, you won't believe this. I've got to take just a brief break, run to the restroom, but I'll be right back because I got plenty more to talk about. So hold on, people, and don't go anywhere. I'm going to be right back. Hold on. Birdie. There you are. I'm back, just like a bad habit. So anyway, thank y'all guys. I always wondered what would happen if I needed to do that. So, let's see. Yeah, you can talk about me even when I'm here. I don't mind. So, whew, I ran too fast there. I'm not used to running, gals. So, all right. Let's see. Oh, I do love sunflowers. I took that course. I learned that from a woman. Oh boy. She lives in California. She's originally from Denmark. Very, very talented. Trying to remember her name. I'll have to find her name and put it down below. but she is the one I took that class from. And she does a lot of underwater things, and real nice lady. And I love taking classes when I can afford it. Uh-oh. Hold on. I can't see you, but hopefully you can still see me. I moved my mouse and I lost it. But anyway, I love taking classes if I can afford it and find a good forum, because I can learn so many techniques. So it's really nice. So Anne, sorry. Oh, ooh, but no humidity. I tell you what, the humidity's getting to me. I'm going to start growing fungus. I don't know. I mean, you can't see out any of my windows. Even, they're all insulated. It doesn't matter. The humidity has just clouded them all over. So I'm getting tired of this. I told Mark today, I'm ready for winter. He goes, don't say that. But, fall. I want fall to come, and I want to drive up to Williamsburg, Virginia, because there's no prettier place. Well, the mountains are right pretty, too. We have the Blue Ridge Parkway, and we have Williamsburg. Could it get any better? Although, Patty, you in Maine, I bet you Maine rivals anywhere on the earth in fall. So you're so lucky to live in beautiful places. But they say that Europe isn't quite as pretty as the States in the fall, because they don't have some of the trees that we have orange, red, yellow, part green and something brown. We have all those different colors. It's 90 degrees in Maine? What's the world coming to? I told Mark, I said, during the summer, we're going to go to Maine, because we plan to get in the RV and travel around, and I'd love to stop and see quilt groups and teach classes along the way. But if it's 90 degrees in Maine, oh no. Yeah, you know what? You probably only get to see the weather on the way into work and on the way out. I'm sorry, sweetie. Wow, I had no idea Maine was that warm. Well, I might not be coming to Maine. No, I would like to see Maine. What Mark and I want to do is the classic thing you've heard so many people say, and that is get in the motorhome and just take off around the country. And I'm trying to lower this a little bit because it's showing the top of my head too much. So let's see. Well, it's a funny angle for me to look up talking. Okay, come on. Anyway, so Bonnie, do you want to see something new I got the other day? I've been thinking about it for a while, and Mark was like, you really want that? I go, yeah. So, I'm getting to the age where I understand the whole bucket list concept. And it's like, okay, how long can this live? How much longer do I think I'm going to live? And this is something I've always wanted. Well, how are you going to see it now? It flew off. Let me see if I can see it real quick before it goes too far. Her name is Kiwi. And, whoops. She's on top of my fabric. Let me see if we can see her. Whoops. I'm probably going to make y'all all nauseous. She's on green fabric back there. You see her? Oh, now she's up under the shelf. Whoops, let me see. Oh, this is going to make y'all nauseous. Kiwi! Oh, well, she's checking out all my fabric over there. She's right near the patterns. Let me see. Oh, I just saw her head move. I just saw her tail move. So I might have to move her playpen somewhere else, because she better not chew on my Jenny Beyer fabrics. Kiwi! Oh, well. She's barely peeking over there, but she's trying to hide. She's still new. She's young. She's a baby. But I love birds. Okay. All right. So I'm going to see what Bonnie says. You saw her? Oh, good. I'll have to put a picture. I'll put a really good picture I got of her. I have 3 dogs, 9 chickens, and a cockatiel. But my cockatiel, I think he was older. The way he was colored, you couldn't tell his age. I think he was older when I got him. And so he kind of gets moody and opinionated now. And he's never liked to play. And he's never really liked me to rub his head or neck. But I like him. I mean, he sings. We whistle all kinds of songs. He's real good with the Andy Mayberry theme song. But I just really wanted to get a bird that I could train and play with. And I love animals. So I like all things bright and colorful and a full life. I warned Mark when I met him. I said, I'm not just a big girl. I live big. I love big too. So that's who I am. But anyway, and it's on my bucket list. But Mark was like, oh my goodness. He didn't understand. You don't have enough to do. So I was really lucky when I was in high school. A friend called and he was working at the Roses. I don't know if y'all remember the Roses department stores, like a 5 and 10, 5 and dime. And he said, we've got a parakeet in here, but it's really sick. And if I would give it to you and give you the medicine, would you try to keep it living? Because I hate for it to die. So I did. And it lived. And we were best friends until the cat got it. But anyway. So then sometimes she'll get the fabric when you claim it's for the birds. Yes, that's exactly it. It's just for the birds, hon. So it was funny that she was over there messing around with green fabric, and she's green. But she's a green sheep conure. And I had to get her because Mark's very sensitive to sound. And so I did research. What's a quiet bird? A bird you could have in an apartment, a bird that's not going to, hurt your eardrums. And I'm hard of hearing, so that kind of stuff doesn't bother me, but it does bother him. And it's not fair. I mean, this is his home. So anyway, but I'm excited. She should be very playful. In fact, in the evening, I put her in my shirt and she falls asleep. So I thought, well, that's pretty fun. That's cool. So, all right. What else was I going to show you? I've got a bucket of thread here. I'm very far behind, but I made the quilt from the Angela Walters. She's done 2 or 3 now. And I made the very first one where she's going to teach some quilting methods. And so I made mine in all these colors. And I can't wait to do that. I just think that's just a lovely color. So that's there waiting. I don't write down all of the quilts that I'm planning to make, or especially the ones I've started making, because I think it would make me feel bad. But, the bird's bobbing her head out every once in a while. Oh, there she is. She's with the flamingo now. They're bonding. It's so cute. Yesterday I introduced her. I've had her Friday, so yesterday I introduced her waited a day, introduced her to my cockatiel. And he landed on the couch and she was there on the back of the couch. And he was like, oh no. Well, she's been with birds her whole life. And she was like, yes, finally someone I understand. And so she wanted to come running over and love him. And he was like, nope. So, but they did stay that way on the couch, and he kept her a couple inches away, but he was fascinated. Like, what is this? So I'm hoping he'll get a kick out of her too. But they're eventually, right now, I don't have her in her large cage because I'm having to tame her. She was hand fed, but she's been weaned for a while, and the store owner said He's a really neat guy. We've got a very knowledgeable place. They do the grooming and everything. And he said, I don't have time to spend with each of them, and which he doesn't, you know. So, what colors do you love? What was I talking about? So, anyway, but got to get my fan again. It is so humid. It is so humid. I mean, I can't turn the temperature down. Mark has his sweats on upstairs because I've got the temperature at 71 trying to deal with the humidity. So I can't turn it down much more. He'll have his coat on inside the house. And you know, when I get hot and muggy, the thread colors, yes. I could pet these all day. I could pet these all day. Oh, so pretty. Look at this green metallic. Woo! The metallic threads, this is a sulky. They're so much better than they used to be. They're still a little difficult. I get a real good top stitch needle, so it has nice long indentation. But, I have not been on our site since I talked to you when I said I'm interrupting, because I really did. You were doing such cute things on the Yahoo site, and I didn't want to get in the way. I thought, let Bonnie bond with them. And plus, I knew that it was going to be hard for me to take time off when I'm home, because that's where I do all my work. And so I thought, I've really got to stay away from things. But I love my new internet. Love it. So can you tell Bonnie that it's a lot more clear now? I'm so excited. I hope it's still clear. I had such poor internet service before. And with this one, I went ahead and upgraded to the Ultra. And it's only the phone and the internet. Now it's with Spectrum, which is part of Time Warner Cable. It was only $7 a month more than my old internet service. And it's amazing. The Bonnie Bob. Oh, Pat. Yes, Patty. If you send an email to me, I will send you an invitation to join our Yahoo group. It's wonderful. Bonnie puts the most amazing free patterns on it. We can chat. You can have your own photo album to put a picture of your grandkids, your anything, whatever you want to put on there. And if you send me an email, it's and I'll type it in here too. Our new email is ourtimetoquilt at twc.com. So there it is. And if you send me an email, that way I'll have because I don't want people giving their personal email addresses in a public forum. So I thought if you send me your email, then that way I'll send you an invitation. It's invitation only, just to make sure that it's just us quilters, you know. So. Oh, okay, Ian. We'll miss you, sweetie. Mwah. Nice seeing you today. Oh, wow. Yes, go out and enjoy. Because right now here, it is dark as dark and nothing but sheets of rain and occasional gusty winds. They said we're going to have up to 4 inches of rain just today. So enjoy your weather. Gosh, yes. All right. Well, take care, Miss Ann. Nice seeing you. And Patty, yeah, we are a Yahoo group. It's Our Time to Quilt at yahoo.com, but you have to have an invitation to get in. So, all right, let's see. Thought I would show you something cute. I have a friend, Ann, who is just so talented, and she made this for Christmas one year for me. Isn't that cute? And these are just the little wooden bobbins you can get from craft stores and things. And she wrapped them in green fabric and glued them on. And then looks like she hot glued them together to make a tree. Put a little gold ribbon. Isn't that cute? In fact, you won't believe what I'm going to do. And I think I already said we were going to do something different. But just yesterday, I found what's called iris folding. Have you heard of iris folding? Oh, and here's another one. Let me see if I can get this down. Hold on, guys. Sorry about this. But I love Ann's things, and so I keep them up all year round. And whoop. Oh, brother. It looks like it's gotten tangled in. Oh, good. I'm sorry. This is not what you planned on seeing. What part of quilting is that? So, here it is. Oh, giving me a fit. Okay. Got to get it off my bells. But you want to see, I have a feeling Ann made this too. She's that talented. So these are 2 different sizes. She painted them with something. There's like, they look like they have snow on them. It's kind of relief. Is that cute? And to me, they're too cute to put away for just a few weeks at Christmas. So I hang them up all the time. So, but, oh, so I was talking about iris folding. Have you heard of it? You might want to check it out on YouTube. And you're very welcome, Patty. We would love to have you. So, yeah, I love the cinnamon. Isn't it cute? But iris folding. And they do it with scrapbooking paper. But I think we can do it with fabric. If we starch the fabric really good, and then if we get a medium weight interfacing that's fusible, that we fuse on the back. And so you would take a strip of fabric. Let me see. Well, picture it like only an inch wide. And I found 2 different ways to do it. One lady did them 1.25 inches and then folded them each side in halfway. But that weighs too much and it's too thick. So this other lady did her scrapbooking paper by just like picture it's this wide. Whoops. This wide. And she only turns in a little bit like that. So because you have to have one edge that's on a fold so that it's not raw, that it's finished, looks finished. And I thought if we put medium weight interfacing so we can get a nice sharp fold on that one thing and then cut them, and they have patterns. I found it on Pinterest. Did I say you? Yeah, I saw the video on YouTube, then went on Pinterest, and they have all kinds of patterns. And basically, it's kind of a layering of these pieces, and you just tape them or glue them. And, oh, my gosh, you got to look it up. It's beautiful. And I thought I could make Christmas cards for people. I could make little hanging ornaments. I've got to figure out, how I would finish it off. But that would be really neat. And it's called iris folding because it's like a camera lens. You know how a camera lens kind of goes like that and closes and opens out and then closes back? That's how you do the folding of the paper. Really, really cool. I think you'll like it. And here is the pattern of my binding tool star. And then I have another one here. But these are some of my old, I should post some of these. I did it in EQ7. And because at first they didn't have, I made it. As soon as I saw it, I made it and had it finished in 2 weeks and wanted to teach it. And Missouri Star at the time didn't have the pattern written up, but they do now. So you can go in there and get it. But I like piano key borders, but I don't like the fact that it's awkward to do the corners. So then I went on EQ7 and did this paper piecing pattern. Very easy. Very, very easy. And then I just paper piece it so it has rays around the corner. And I thought that that would be... You looked it up. It would drive you bonkers. Now, Bonnie, I thought you had the patience of Job. You're so funny. You're so funny. Very witty lady. So, anyway, I got to get a drink, lady. Sorry. It's just water, ice water. Sorry. But I do have something good. I shouldn't tempt you because I can't just share with you. Hey, do you want a kissy? But I think I need chocolate. It's just that kind of day. We avoided the hurricane and I need chocolate. This is my kind of drink. So, I wish I could hand you all one. And Patty, Miss Bonnie can type 95 words a minute. Isn't that amazing? She can type as fast as I talk, and that's fast. Well, I don't know if you've ever used this. I like this stuff. I like it because it flows really easily. It's a freight. What I use this for is if I'm doing fabric painting or something where I want to keep the edges stiff and from fraying. Oh, yeah, Bonnie. What area? Do you know what general city? Wilmington really got nailed. Myrtle Beach wasn't as bad, believe it or not. Well, I was looking for something, but I didn't really see it. But I just don't want to stop talking yet because I've missed y'all. You like it better? I just like the way the liquid kind of comes out of the tube. But it's nice because sometimes, let me check. Sometimes I like, now Bonnie, you help me. I think you'll know what this is. This stuff. Is it Osnaburg or, oh, thank you, Bonnie. Is this, it's a natural and it's a wide weave. And sometimes I like to do like red work on something like this. And it's really important to stop it from fraying because it's such an open weave that it wants to fray very much. Oh, good. Yeah, fray check gets real stiff. In fact, have you ever tried to sew through it? Ooh. Anyway, we're getting ready to do our retreat in November. And I've got a friend, Ann, who just designed a block for us to do with 30-some ladies coming to the retreat. And if we all bring a block ready-made, then we could have like 3 drawings because, 12 blocks usually gives you what you need. So I'm looking forward to that. And now that I saw this iris folding, I'm thinking, ooh, maybe I'll do a little tutorial on iris folding. But that'll be fun. So the bird's still sitting on top of, let me see if I can zoom in. She's sitting on top of the flamingo near the lamp. Whoops. Let me see. Yeah, there you can see her face right by the lamppost. Kiwi. But poor little thing, her life has changed so much. I mean, 1 minute she's sitting in a cage with her brother, and the next minute she's in my zoo. But she's going to be a lot of fun. So tell me now, yeah, Frey, and if you pick up a tube of Frey block and you don't hear anything inside, be careful because it can thicken with time. But it has a nice little tip. Whoops, don't well, I think I haven't used it in a while and it's a little, oh, here we go. So it's got a nice little tip. Use it with good ventilation. But, so, trying to think of what this is. Oh, I don't know. Well, I don't know what else I was going to talk to you about. I'm sorry, but if y'all, I tell you what, Bonnie, go for it, girlfriend. Yeah, the bird is shy. I think that's who you were talking about. Oh, okay. That's a good idea. It's a way to control it because if you squeeze too hard on that tube, a bunch comes out. Good thinking. Good thinking. So, Bonnie, did you have a chance? Yes, right. You did watch the judging video. It was really good. I was telling the ladies on here earlier, it was so hot and humid that I came home and was sick for 2 days. So I didn't realize, I think I had heat exhaustion and it really got to me. But what y'all couldn't see when I was videoing it was my mascara was running because I was just perspiring, sweating right through my eyes. And, oh, it was something. But did you see the quilts that Ashley Reeves made? I mean, that girl's got talent. So I was real tickled. You're so funny. You're so funny. Yes. I had the 2 butterfly quilts that were in the show. And they were both beautiful. It's like, how do you choose one over the other? And, oh, you sweetie. Oh, you were sick yesterday. I'm sorry, hon. You feeling better today, I hope? Oh, I'm sorry. And, but, it's like you're looking at 2 quilts and they're both beautiful. And for me, it was just the one that I chose. It was very striking. The other had uneven, only a top and bottom border, and they were a little bit uneven, and I tend to be a symmetrical girl. So, I mean, it's all subjective. And it's just, hers was so striking. She had the sharp white background with the colors in the butterfly quilt, and it just was so graphic. It just caught your eye. And then, instead of doing any borders, she just finished it with a black binding, like a narrow black frame. And I thought, that's pretty sophisticated. She knew the butterfly was enough. Stop there. And wow, talent. And then the quilting. Oh my gosh. And her seams. I mean, you couldn't find seams that didn't line up with this gal. Amazing. Ah. Okay. Yeah, I was telling them earlier that in judging quilts, 50 to 60% is first impression. You want a quilt that's going to catch your eye and draw you in. A quilt that you stop and go, ooh. Because the whole point of displaying these quilts is to bring people in, to notice what it takes to make a quilt, to have others go, I'd like to do that. It's just really exciting. And you like to look for something that's different, that hasn't been done over and over. I don't like judging any quilts that were made from kits. I'm sorry, but 50% of that is not you. You didn't choose the fabrics. You didn't choose the design. You chose maybe the way you quilted it or finished it, but you have to kind of judge those totally differently. Where if someone comes, even if you use a pattern, did you put any changes in it? What did you do to make it different, make it yours? And what kind of fabrics? How did you choose your fabrics? So I don't like judging kits. And, but anyway, but it's just, when it draws you in, then you look and go, okay, how is the workmanship on this? The first thing you look for is it square? I have a hard time getting quilts square sometimes. Is it square? Does it hang straight? Doesn't pull? Doesn't wave? Doesn't pucker? Does it hang straight? Then you go in and say, how are the points? Can you see the points, or have they been cut off? Because that shows that extra level of care when cutting and piecing. Then you look to see, how do your seams line up? And I already told you about the care in choosing fabrics. Do they contrast well? Is there a place for your eye to rest? There was a quilt that I saw was gorgeous and the fabrics were fantastic, but I just felt overwhelmed by it. There wasn't a good place for your eye to rest, and that's not good because people are not going to then linger and look at the beautiful work you've done. You see my point? And so you're checking to see how the seams line up. You're checking to see are the threads trimmed well. There was a beautiful quilt, a red and white quilt there. There was one problem, though. I saw every red fabric seam. She had them ironed to the white background, and the white background was a thin white fabric. That's very distracting because you want to enjoy the design elements, but you keep seeing the red shadowing through. So it was a beautiful quilt, but I gave her a suggestion. Be real careful because reds will show through. Any dark color will show through a thin white background fabric. But it was beautiful. People loved it. People walked, I would choose that one. And I can't really say anything. And also, little things like if you make a T-shirt quilt, if you're going to have it judged, center the design in the block. If you have the design up too high, then your eye's bouncing around too much. Your eye looks for order and rhythm. Not every T-shirt can you do that, but maybe if you could try to use some of the T-shirt fabric from somewhere else and put a seam along the top that you can then bring it down and center it. It's all little things like that just show, did you have the extra care? One of the quilts was beautiful, but it had a pucker in the quilting. That you have to judge down for because, and it's not that I shouldn't say judge down, but you have to kind of keep that in mind. But all quilts are wonderful. In fact, the girl who had the top two quilts that I loved, I said, may I give you some suggestions? Because you should always ask. Not everybody wants to hear your opinion. And she said, sure. And I said, see the one that had, I think it was tulip pink fabrics, but they were all the same intensity. They were all the same value. And I said, that quilt is beautiful, bright, happy. Nothing wrong with that quilt. But if I'm going to judge it, then it tends to bother me because it's all intense. There's no places for your eye to rest. You really do when you're judging a quilt like to see the change in value. So I said, nothing wrong with that quilt at all. Enjoy that quilt. That's something you love. I said, but just know that when it's being judged, if it's all the same value, it's just a little too busy, too much. You can't really tell what you're looking at sometimes. So, the last thing you do, if you have two quilts that, you've checked them, you look for things like quilting. Does the quilting enhance? Does it improve the quilt design? Does it improve the piecing? Some quilting can be too busy. Some can be too sparse. They had one that had the meandering. If you're judging and the meandering goes from a dog bone shape to all of a sudden a sharp corner, and you can tell it's not meant to be, it just happened in a couple places, that has to count off. I mean, so that's that part, you're looking at. Is it even? Is it, you can't see where it starts and stops. But the very last thing, if you're really stumped and these two quilts are really coming up neck and neck, I might sneeze in a moment. Pardon me. But if they're neck and neck, and you're like, what in the world? Check your binding. What you want to check for binding are the stitches close enough together that there's no puckering on the back of the binding. Is the binding evenly full all the way around? If you're not careful and you cut your binding, the batting and the backing too short before you flip over the binding, it'll leave an empty, flaccid binding. So be careful that your binding is even, that the stitches are small and invisible, and that it's evenly full all the way around. So that's that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that might work beautifully. No, okay. There's kind of a rule of thumb. If the quilt is geometric, usually people use a flowering quilting pattern, but you don't. It's what may, if it looks good. I have a quilt upstairs that in some ways has some relationship to the binding tool star, and it's all angles, and it can be busy. And so I just did straight lines, every half inch, straight line, straight line, straight line. That goes. It's whatever quilting enhances the design. Now, sometimes people make the mistake with these new fancy machine quilting, they'll over quilt a quilt, and that can be done. And if that happens, that's not good. And like the #1 quilt, she did more open quilting in the busy design, and on the background, she went to town and did a lot of little, I kind of call them peacock, where it starts a loop, and then a bigger loop, and then a bigger loop, and then a bigger loop, but they were all small. And then her corners, she did a beautiful feather flourish at each corner. But what she did, where it was busy pieced, she showed more restraint. And that was smart, because you don't want the quilting to be the quilt. You want the piecing to be the quilt. And then the quilting enhances it. I think that's the best way to say. So it's whatever looks good. And that's subjective. Somebody might come in and, well, I don't know, I'd like this and this. I told him earlier, Bonnie, before you got here, I said, I went to look up Ashley Reeves, just kind of see, is there something out there about her? And I found the Allegheny Quilt Guild site, and they had an Allegheny quilt show. And the two quilts that I judged, 1 and 2 in this show, won first place in each of the categories in that show. So I said, I'm right on with that. That I think we saw the same things. So. It's scary to do a quilt for a show. And I used to say, I'll never do that. I don't want my babies judged, because how they had the baby contest. And what if they say your baby doesn't win? Is my baby ugly? Well, but people have told me that if you're competitive, you enjoy that competing, or you just want to improve your quilting, that entering it in the show is the best way to get advice. But right now, I just don't think I'm up to it either. It's a tough thing. It's tough, and I even feel bad judging other quilts, because I think the fact that you made a quilt is, we should all stand up and applaud. But it's like, well, if you do enter the show, then I have to do justice and give you my opinion. I mean, yes, I've studied up on it and took an informational class and been quilting for 30 some years, but it's still just my opinion. I mean, it's art. Art is subjective. Jackson Pollock doesn't do anything for me. Picasso, no. But Norman Rockwell, oh my God, I love his work. There are lots. Rembrandt, oh my God, I love his work. The Dutch masters, love it. But so that's subjective, So. Well, I've judged this. This is a small quilt show, but I'm not certified, and I'm not interested in going down that road because that's a tough thing. It's emotionally draining on me to judge. I enjoyed it, but I come home drained. And Mark overheard one of the quilt makers complaining about the judging. And I know they're doing that. In fact, when I finish judging a show, I feel like I need to run away and hide before they find out what because I know you can't make everybody happy. You can only make one person happy. So that's hard. So I don't really see myself doing much more judging than just a small show and doing it. I don't charge. I feel better about that. So, but I'd like to think that at some point I do enter a quilt in a show just to see. But I start out with every quilt, making it like as if I were going to put it in a show. I get halfway and I've made too many mistakes. And I'm not a process-oriented person. I'm an end result person. So I one time I sat by a woman in a class and we only had 2 days to make a very complicated quilt. So I was cutting and I was working fast as I could to try to get something put together in 2 days. And she was very careful. She was making half square triangles. And she took one layer of fabric and she laid it down on her sandboard. She drew her line. And then she carefully lined up her ruler and she carefully cut it. And every stage she would starch or she would press. And I'm using a wooden iron or my fingernail to press a seam so I can keep going. And I remember thinking, goodness gracious, she's picky. But then I realized, you know what? She loves the process. And I happened to turn to her and I said, are you by any chance an engineer? And she goes, yes. And I said, I get it now. I get it. You love every step in that process of building a quilt. And that's how she looks at it, as building a quilt. And she's going to build it the very best she can. And she enjoys that. For me, that would be painful. And I would judge myself short every time. Because I can be a perfectionist. And I work very hard in trying to step back from that so that I can enjoy my quilts more. So that's why I started the rule that I will take apart a seam and try it again 3 times only. After 3 times, I've learned to love it. I've made peace with that seam because I used to pick them apart so much I would unravel the fabric and then I would hate it and I'd end up sticking it at the back of the closet and that'd be that. I'd give up on it. I don't want to do that. That's not a way to enjoy quilting. So when I teach or reach out to people about quilting, it's what makes you happy. And I want you to do it in the way that makes you the happiest. I'll show you the techniques, but you decide what works for you. That's big for me. Yes. And you know what? Now, I knew a woman who did the most beautiful applique so far as flat, perfectly even edges. I mean, it was amazing. But I have found for me, myself, I like it more, I hate to use this word, it's always overused, organic. I want it to look more naturally made. So it may not be perfectly smooth, but I don't want it all flat and paper-like. I want it to feel like it has a little life to it. And when you try to do zippers, oh, now I don't know about you, but this is how I do zippers. If you have questions about garment sewing, I did that for years and years too. When I do a zipper, I do a basting stitch and I baste that seam together. And then I mark it. I press it open and I mark exactly where I want that zipper to go. With the seam closed, I unzip it, but keep it close together. And because you can't, it's hard. Well, okay, I unzip it just where the zipper would cause a big bulk. I do the stitching there, then I zip it back up and I make sure it's exactly where I want it. And sometimes glue works great to put in a zipper, as long as it's not going to bleed through or show through the fabric. And then I just sew down across a couple times and then back up. And when I get up near the zipper, I pull it down so I can get a flat seam there. But sewing the fabric together with a nice big basting stitch and just pulling out the stitches when you're ready to open so you can see the zipper has really done it. That made it much easier for me. Let me see what Patty said. Oh, yeah. And, you know, I'm not one to ever spend more than $1,000 for a machine. And even at that, I've only spent one $1,000 machine, and that was my Elna Pro, Quilter's Dream Pro, and I think it was like a 700 or something. And then the last machine I bought used off of So It's For Sale, and it was a Juki, and I love it. Oh my God, I love this machine. I like it better than my Elna. Don't tell Elna. But I like it. It's got so many lights, and it's a Juki builds solid machines. I had one of the, I think they're called the Juki 98 1500 or something. And it's an industrial machine, only does straight stitch. It sewed the most beautiful stitch. So Juki's a really good machine maker, I have found. Made in Japan. And but so is Janome, or it used to be. But that my Juki I bought, the woman hadn't really used it. She was into buying antique machines, so she wanted to go ahead and sell this one. And so I got virtually a brand new machine for $750, and its retail price was probably $1,300. So, but I love that machine. But you can't. I had a woman in one of my classes, and she just couldn't sew a straight seam to save her. And I finally watched her and listened to that machine and watched that machine, and I said, "Hon, you're never going to get any quality sewing off that machine." And so she went into the quilt shop where I teach, and she got a Husqvarna designer machine. It was used. Think about this buying used. And because some people have the money that they upgrade every new year, whatever new features, they get a new one. This machine was wonderful for like $400, and it had all these features. And then her stitches immediately improved. So yeah, some of these cheap machines bounce around and they're just not made well. And it depends on what kind of hook, whether the hook goes back and forth or whether it's a complete rotary. And rotaries, they just sew better. If you ever heard, I'll give you an example, a regular Harley-Davidson motorcycle, and that's called the potato bike. Potato, 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 because that's the sound that the engine. And then if you've ever heard of a Honda Goldwing, and it has more like a car engine, and it just purrs, just smoothest sound you ever wanted. So you've got the potato, 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 and then you've got the Goldwing that just purrs straight. And it's just the difference in the way it's made. And that's the difference between a rotary hook and a straight back and forth hook. You'll get a smoother stitch. It sounds better. The machine doesn't jump, just better. And, be careful. Some of these, we want these machines that weigh hardly anything, but then we're surprised when they hop around the table when we're sewing with them. So my Juki I take to my classes, and I think it's about 17 pounds, but I have a carrier. I pull it, it rolls along, and I love it. Love it. So, okay, what have we got here? Oh my gosh, I bet you though you got a good one. Because I have heard of people that will get a brother from Walmart and it sews beautifully. And boy, that's great. Yeah, the throat. Yeah, in fact, both of my machines have a 9.5-inch throat. And when they were first made, when they first started making the 9.5-inch throat, you want it tall, to at least 5 inches tall by 9 or more. They were meant for you to do the actual quilting on them. And people love that, having that extra space so much that now just about all of them are made that way. So let's see. Yeah, it's worth it, Patty, to save up, but consider getting a used machine. If you go to a reputable shop or a reputable repair service, consider getting used, because honestly, most people don't sew as much as you'd think. I mean, I put hours on my machines, but even though I take such good care of them, but consider getting used if that helps you get a better machine. When I saw, oh my God, last year, they got a new machine in the shop, the sewing shop, quilting shop. And I think I heard that the top price was like $14,000. Oh my gosh, I only paid $22,000 for my first house. I couldn't live in a sewing machine. Good. That's good, Patty. And get advice, help, whatever, helps you make that's great. Oh, well, hello. That's not a real plant, sweetie. So I see little Kiwi there has gotten extra bold. There she's sitting. Those are fake plants I got from Joanne Fabrics. They're supposed to be fake succulents. But, let's see. Yes. And in fact, a friend in that quilting class got lessons and it had been thoroughly checked over and they gave her a year warranty. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yep. Best machine you can afford, because you will never regret it. You will never regret it. Like, I didn't buy a machine with all of I don't have a machine that does machine embroidery because I knew I wasn't going to do that. That's just not my thing. I mean, do I like embroidery? Yeah, but I'll find somebody who does it and pay them. But yeah, she's getting very brave. She's 13 weeks old. So she's still shy, but she loves getting up around my neck or inside my shirt and taking a little nap. So, well, I probably should get going too. This has been a full 2 hours, but thank you for joining me. I have some new videos to load this week. I've already got one filmed where I load a quilt on my long arm and quilt it and actually get you in close to see what I'm actually doing. So I'll do that, and I forget what's my other one about, but I've got a couple, so I'll get those loaded. That's the phone. Must be one of my kids. Take care. Have a great week, and until it's our time to quilt again, I'll see you soon, and do something that feeds your soul. I don't know what this phone's doing. Yes, we're having the remnants of the hurricane here at our time to quilt. All right, take care. Nice seeing you again. Have a great weekend. Do some sewing. Take care. Bye-bye, guys.